welcome to Universal After Dark, a Universal podcast that's not the same as all the others.
Hello and welcome to Dis After Dark, the Universal Edition. I'm Chris.
I'm Paul W.
And I'm Amanda, aka BostonWhite.
Hey, how you all doing?
Awesome.
Good.
And excited.
All good in the hood?
Yeah.
All good. Excited to talk today.
All ready to speak about Wedsite?
Oh, yeah.
So this week we're going to be talking about Universal Studios, but we're going to be talking about Universal Studios Hollywood.
Hooray for Hollywood.
Hooray for Hollywood. Now, Paul and I have been to Universal Studios Hollywood, and I believe, Paul, you were a pass holder.
Yeah, I have been 3 times now over the years.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
just
Well,
worked
now-
out that the trips were better to have an annual pass for. So
Well, I always say if you're going more than once in a year, it usually works out
yeah,
cost effective, doesn't it?
certainly does.
Mind you, saying that, now I think pass holders, it's a bit of a premium, isn't it, now?
Yeah, it seems like they've changed it up because of Potter. There seems to be a lot of blackout dates and missing extras and things like that. I think they're having some issues out there.
Darn you, Potter. But Amanda, you've not been, is that right?
Nope, I have never been to Universal Hollywood before.
Is it on your list, your radar, or?
Definitely, yeah. It's just trying to convince my boyfriend
Oh,
No.
no.
it'll be a good time.
This is the home of Fast and the Furious, and he loves his cars, so...
Exactly, that's what I'm trying to say.
I mean,
but
how many car chases have been filmed in Hollywood?
Exactly, you'd think that you'd want to go, but it's hard. It's hard right now, but I'll get there.
Okay, cool. Okay, so I don't know where we wanted to start, but I did have an idea before we actually got to the park, was to talk about hotels.
Yeah,
Because we love talking about hotels on this podcast.
we certainly do.
Now, there's 2 hotels on site, I believe.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah, there is.
I've actually stayed at both.
Hmm.
I tell you why. Purely because driving in Los Angeles is a nightmare.
Yeah.
If you know anyone that's ever said, "Oh well, I've driven in Paris or I've driven in Italy, it's fine." No,
No.
LA is a different game altogether. I
really
saw
is.
people have crashes and keep driving.
What?
Yeah, it's mental. It's absolutely mental.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I think you have to stay on site if you go there.
The only other option really is staying in central Hollywood and using the metro. The metro is quite good.
I've never used the metro. What
I've
did
used
you
it-
think?
I used it quite a bit, I have to be honest. It's because I've never driven out there, and we've always stayed in Hollywood. So it's fairly easy. It's only like a couple of stops from the Hollywood and Highland Centre to Universal Studios, so it's not too bad. There's a bit of a trek once you get off the metro, depending on how you want to do it. Whether you there's a tram that goes up and down the hill. You can get from more or less right outside, or you can walk it. I've walked it once, and knowing that it's in the Hollywood Hills, it's a fair trek. Because basically, where you get off the train is kind of at the level of the lower lot.
Oh
so
yeah.
you then have to walk all the way up to the top to
Oh,
then come back
yeah.
down again.
Oh,
The easy bit is that you hit one of the car parks.
oh yeah, I know.
So
yeah.
you kind of walk up the steps and then go up the levels rather than up a hill, which makes it a little bit easier, but I wouldn't recommend it, certainly not on a hot Los Angeles day.
No.
Is
Well,
it
that's the thing.
expensive, the tram?
No, it's the train's really quite cheap. You can get an all-day pass for about $5, I think.
Oh, that's good.
And they've actually just extended it as well. The train line goes all the way out to Santa Monica now. So
Ah,
it's made it a bit better, and I know they are trying to work on something to get it all the way out to Disney. How long that's going to take, I don't know.
that'd be good.
But
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing about Universal Studios Hollywood is that it's not actually in Hollywood, is it?
no,
It's actually in Universal City.
Yep. It has
It
its own
should be
district.
Universal Studios, Universal City.
Yep.
But because in Disney, in Florida, Florida, the Walt Disney World is its own city, effectively, whereas this is effectively its own city. Am I right?
I believe so. Yeah, it's a district of the San Fernando Valley, so it is its own. Basically, what they own is theirs to do what they want with. Saying that, Universal City isn't very big.
No, I don't think they got the same zoning and planning things that Disney in Florida get away with.
No.
And it's definitely not as big. But it's like an interesting opposite to how Universal Studios in Florida is, which is, sort of tight for space a bit. Although this is tight for space, but it's just slightly bigger, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it slightly bigger or a lot bigger? Because it's 2 levels, isn't it?
Well, it's kind of spread across the side of a mountain is the kind of best way of putting it.
All right.
Yeah.
Which is what Paul was just saying about going up and down the hills there. You sort of go up a hill to get into it, and then you have to go down a hill once you're inside it.
All right, so the park itself is set on a mountain?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Well, it kind of is that the theme park is a bit of an afterthought to the process of making films. So the sound stages have all got the best plot of land down the bottom, all nice and flat and lovely. And then the theme park is kind of dotted about on the side of like this giant hill.
Right.
Jurassic Park is basically built into the side of the mountain.
What? That's crazy.
So it's to get your head around it. It's a bit different, isn't it?
It is. It's very different to any other theme park that I can think of. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Sounds fair.
But going back to the hotels, the Sheraton's fairly new, I believe, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
And the Hilton's been there since Time and Glamour, I believe, because the only reason I know that is I think the Hilton, every time they needed a hotel for anything from Murder, She Wrote through to Quincy to Perry Mason, was always filmed at the Hilton.
Yeah.
Across the street.
Some of Back to the Future was filmed there as well.
Ah.
I filmed Back to the Future there.
You know the scenes when they're on the stairs being chased up and down when Biff goes after in the second one. That's all filmed in the fire escapes of the Hilton.
Oh.
That's interesting.
Because it's just one big tower, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it looks a little bit like the building out of Die Hard 1.
Yeah. Very
and
similar.
then behind it, you've got the Black Tower, which is where all the executives sit, isn't it?
Yeah.
So hotels aside, they run a shuttle, and that drops off at their version of City Walk.
Yeah.
So City Walk Orlando, City Walk Hollywood, which is better?
Orlando. There's more choice. Don't get me wrong, the City Walk is lovely. Nice stroll through shops of all different kinds as you'd expect. And in the same vein that I think Orlando's going, that they're trying to put in their own properties, I think the City Walk in Hollywood's going the same way. Basically getting rid of a lot of the brand names. I think Quicksilver's gone. Which was like the big shop, wasn't it, as you walked out?
That's right.
I think
What's it been replaced with?
Well, I think they're replacing it with like their own restaurant.
Oh, okay.
So like they've done at City Walk with some of the restaurants, like they're doing with the Tucson Chocolate Emporium or whatever it's called. I think they're going to put their own little restaurant in there. And I think that's going the same way with a lot of them. I think they've got rid of some of the other smaller ones on the other side. I know they moved some of the shops around. They moved the big comic book shop that was once literally as you walked out. That's moved down to the far end of City Walk, so as far away more or less as possible as you can get from the entrance. I think they're kind of trying to build that entrance up to be their own properties.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't know there was a comic shop there.
Yeah, it was Things from Another World. It used to have a big crashed spaceship in the roof as you went in the entrance.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it's now what was a GameStop. There was a huge GameStop at the other end, basically next to the Hard Rock. So that moved down there, and I think that's what they're doing, is they're trying to move like their own properties into the front buildings right at the entrance.
Right. They might get an NBC grill then, perhaps.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So as you enter in what they call the upper lot, I believe. And it's very similar once you get into the theme park to the entrance at Orlando with the gate. You've got the VIP tour services, different sort of faux production sort of buildings. And then I think, just like Orlando, I could be wrong, isn't it Shrek is the first ride that hits you in the face?
It is at the moment. I think it will be The Walking Dead will be the first one you come to.
Ah, so that'll be on the left as you walk in.
Yes. Yeah, because as you walked in previously, it used to be the horror maze was on your left, which has obviously now been flattened, and is now, I think, again, a restaurant, first of all, but The Walking Dead is on the back of that now, so it's possible that they're going to be about the same distance from the entrance.
Yeah.
Because the Walking Dead attraction will be kind of around the corner as you come in,
Yeah.
and the Walking Dead's right on your right. So I think they're probably going to be about the same distance between the two.
Okay. Because I think when I went Shrek, we went on it, and I think it was almost identical to the Orlando one in every way.
I don't think there's any difference to it at all.
No.
Obviously, that's had some more work done to it recently because of the opening of Potter. I think that's a little bit different from the last time I went. The queue area is different and things like that. So, but yeah, the actual attraction itself, I don't think there's any difference to it at all.
No. Yeah, it's a funny one, Shrek, isn't it? You know, it was quite good when it came out. I mean, I'm quite annoyed in Orlando that it replaced the Hitchcock attraction.
Yes.
Yeah.
I used to like that old attraction.
I loved it. One time, my dad got picked to be in it, and it was amazing.
Really? Which bit did you get picked on?
The bit where he was being Norman. And he was dressed as a bottom, and he was doing the shower scene. Honestly, when I go back to Liverpool next week, I'm going to dig up my old videos and I'll put it on our Facebook because it is so funny.
Oh, that'd be great.
Hilarious.
Yeah, that'd be great because there's hardly anything of that ride on YouTube.
No, exactly. I'm going to dig out all my oldies and I'll put all the little gems on so everyone can see them.
Oh, good. I don't think Hollywood ever had a Hitchcock attraction, did it?
Not that I'm aware of. Obviously, it's got its stuff on the studio tour.
Yes.
I'm sure will come up later. That's Hitchcock related, but
yeah,
in the actual park, I don't think there has been anything.
No, because funny story, Julie Zimmerman, who created Halloween Horror Nights, she created the Hitchcock attraction in Orlando.
Ah.
Yeah, that was one of the first ones she worked on.
Amazing.
So what do you think then? Walking Dead, it hasn't. I don't think it's opened yet, has it? I think it's next month.
I think they've just finished the auditions, haven't they? I think they showed
okay.
I think they showed some of the makeup to some press, because I've seen a couple of videos of them training the walkers with the makeup on. But I think that's as far as it's got so far.
Mm-hmm. So I know it does have animatronics in there, doesn't it?
Yep. Yeah.
So
what
do you think? Are you excited for it, or?
I think, looking at some of the stuff that's possibly going to be in it, I'm quite excited for how it's being made, and how it works more than I am the theme, I think.
Yeah.
But I think it'll do well. I think obviously we've seen Halloween Horror Nights, it continue for 5 years, and I know people have got bored with it. But I think it's one of those ones where if it's just a staple for the park, like it's there, I think people will enjoy it. I think it's one of those names people are going to walk in and go, oh, it's The Walking Dead. It's the biggest TV show on the planet at the moment. I think people are looking at it in that way, that it's good to have that kind of property in the park. I'm not saying us
Yeah.
regular goers would be particularly enamoured by it all the time, but I think it would be one of those ones that will help Hollywood become more of an attraction again.
I follow a guy on Twitter who went for a look around it today, and he hasn't been allowed to put any pictures or anything up, but he's been just like describing what he's seeing in there, and it sounds pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's themed.
Right, so he was quite,
Yeah, like he's just describing it, and like he's done a bunch of tweets just saying like what he's seeing in each room, and it does sound cool.
All right.
I don't know how he's got in there today.
No. Yeah, because it. I think you're right. You know, I think it would be good. I think it's good that they have a year-round house in Hollywood. You know, because I think they need that. You know, a lot of people have been moaning about the King Kong queue, haven't they? Whether or not there'll be scare actors in there or not. But no, I think Hollywood, because Hollywood's had that long history of having a sort of a haunted house attraction all year round, haven't they?
Yeah,
this is by no means the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it certainly fits. I think obviously they haven't got a makeup show like Orlando have, and I think that's kind of missing. And I think this could possibly, I know it's obviously not a show, but I think this could kind of fill that gap for the fans of that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I tell you what I haven't seen as well up there. There is the Waterworld show. Is that still going?
It certainly is.
Have you seen it?
I've seen it. Oh, how many times have I seen it? I must have seen it at least 5 times.
Wow. So, what would you say to that?
I really enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, the film was awful, god awful. But this is really well done. Lots of stunts, lots of explosions, and it's really well done. It's obviously it's all set on water. So the main characters all ride jet skis around a pool. There's a plane that comes down from behind the set that crashes into the set and explodes. Wow. And obviously the storyline is very similar to what's in the film, but it's really enjoyable for that sort of thing. It's very much along the lines of the Indiana Jones stunt show at Hollywood Studios, but on water.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoy it, and in fact, I saw a Halloween Horror Nights version of it that was called Slaughter World.
Wow.
That was basically, it was just think Bill and Ted, but on water.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was literally blood, violence, swearing, everything. But it was meant to be the same characters, but in a completely different environment. But they don't do it anymore.
It's interesting how, for them, like everything's a little bit more adult, isn't it? Even like the Halloween Horror Nights was a little bit more adult. With like they used to have the stand-up comedy with Chucky.
Yeah, we saw that.
And then the Bill and Ted show used to be a little bit more, used to cross the line a bit more, didn't it?
Yeah, but they've got rid of that as well now.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you, Shanghai. Oh no, it wasn't Shanghai's fault, that one, was it?
No, it was. It was just the customers. Yeah, it was just the customers complaining about it.
I read somewhere it was Jamie Lee Curtis.
Was it?
She complained, and that's why they stopped it.
Why did she complain about what?
I don't know. One year she complained, and it was on the strength of her complaint that they closed it down.
That's pretty random.
Yeah.
I could be completely wrong, and if she's listening, then, it's only an allegation.
From what I think it was, I think there was something that people accused of being racist in it.
Okay.
I know they used to use, instead of Captain America, they had Captain Mexico and things like that in it.
Yeah.
But I think,
Geary.
yeah, I think one year it went a little bit too far. So they ended up having to get. It got cancelled halfway through the season.
Yeah,
I think it was.
that I remember.
Yeah, they'd already been showing it for a good 3 or 4 weeks, and then ended up axing it, and it's never come back since.
Oh man.
Mm.
Hey. But yeah, Waterworld, definitely, if you're there, go and see it. It really is enjoyable. If you enjoy things like Indiana Jones stunt show at Hollywood Studios, this will definitely be right up your alley, I have to say.
Oh. Was it this one where they had a Creature from the Black Lagoon makeover?
No, that was actually in a theatre that they'd got. That I think it ran for about a week.
Oh.
And they got rid of it because it was awful.
Was it really bad?
Yeah, it was a musical. A musical Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Wow.
Okay.
Similar to what you think of Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
In that kind of vein, I think. But not on the particularly funny side. Kind of just a straight out musical. With the creature.
They're currently working on a remake of that, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they're working on a remake of every single Universal horror icon, aren't they?
Mm.
So,
Tom Cruise has been over here filming The Mummy for the last few months, hasn't he?
yeah, but they're doing The Invisible Man, I think, with Johnny Depp. Meant to be playing the lead.
Really?
Yeah. And they've cast someone to play Jekyll and Hyde, haven't they?
Have they?
Yeah, and I can't remember who it is, but he's in The Mummy. They're kind of introducing him in The Mummy, but I read it the other day and I can't remember who it was. It's someone quite famous playing him.
I hope their version of the Marvel Cinematic Universe works.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see it back because it's really underutilised everywhere, other than a few walk-around characters. And obviously Halloween Horror Nights last year used them fairly well, but they're just, for something that's so popular, even still now, for them not to really use them in anything is fairly poor.
Mm.
So I hope it does work and it puts them back in the mainstream again.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think they if you look through history, the monsters, they were popular in the 30s and 40s, they went away, and they sort of come back in the 50s and 60s and they went away, and they came back with a vengeance in the 80s and the 90s and they went away. So hopefully now is the time for them to come back again.
Yeah.
I love the monsters.
Yeah. The person that's been cast as Jekyll and Hyde is Russell Crowe.
Ah.
Really?
Yeah.
Crikey. I knew they were throwing some money at it, but perhaps now they've made loads of money with Warcraft off the Chinese market, they can spend it on the monsters.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's already said they're working on a script for a solo film for him as well.
Because I think it was this podcast we said that Warcraft was going to be a complete dead duck, didn't we?
Yeah.
And technically we were right, but it was just the Chinese market. They're the only people that have gone and seen it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't see it being in any of the US parks at any near future.
No.
I think you might get it in some of the Asian ones.
Mm.
But I can't see it being in any of our parks.
No. Okay, so sort of behind that and to the left is one of the newest areas of the park. Not the newest, but one of the newest. And that's the Despicable Me area.
Yep.
And they've got a kind of mini land, haven't they?
Yeah, they've got Super Silly Funland.
No way!
Yeah,
They
way.
have.
Oh my god.
That area was originally the T2 3D area.
Oh, was it?
Yep, that was where Minion Mayhem was actually the Terminator show originally. So
their Terminator's gone then?
Yep, they haven't got Terminator out there anymore, sadly.
I think I would rather have had Terminator.
Yeah,
I think I'd rather have Silly Funland.
But yeah,
It's the unicorns.
Sorry, Amanda?
It's the unicorns. They're just so fluffy.
I think from memory, the Hollywood ride is slightly better than the Florida one.
yeah, I believe it's a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think it was longer, and I think the actual ride vehicles were a bit more I think they just generally made you feel more like you're in the ride.
Yeah, I think
The ones,
wasn't Orlando just a refit? Didn't they use some of the
yeah,
same? Whereas Hollywood's is actually a completely brand new ride.
yeah, built for it.
Yeah,
Yeah, Orlando was before that. It was Jimmy Neutron, and I think it was Hanna-Barbera for years.
Yeah.
The one at Orlando kind of feels like you're in a theatre, and your seats just move a bit. Whereas the ones in Hollywood, you feel like you're much more part of it. If that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, it's quite a new area. I didn't really spend much time in there, if I'm honest, when I went there last. Was it built when you went there last?
no, it wasn't. It was still Terminator. I don't think they'd even closed Terminator the last time we went.
Oh, okay.
Which would have been 5 years ago. So yeah, I think it went possibly the year after that.
Yeah.
So no, I've not been out there since they've rebuilt it. Super Silly Funland replaced the Coke Soak zone, so it was still a play area in the first place, and then they just kind of built Super Silly Funland on top of it.
Mm. This kind of all backs onto the car park, doesn't it? This bit.
Yep, and if you look over the side, you're basically looking down the side of a cliff.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. So then, if you come back this way, they've got that mini London area.
Yep. Which
they've got phone boxes made out of wood that are painted orange.
Which is one of their main scare zones as well during Halloween Horror Nights.
Ah.
Yes.
That's where the Krampus scare zone was last year.
Just about to say that. I'm sure that's where Krampus was.
Yeah.
And then sort of next to that was where the Halloween house was, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of pack everything in a bit, don't they?
Yeah, they kind of lots of dry ice, and then characters coming out from little alleyways and things like that along there.
Yeah. And then going back towards the centre, you then have the brand new area, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter area, which I haven't seen. They were building that when I went there last. But I don't know how much different it is to the Orlando one. Does anyone have any ideas on that?
I believe it's more or less exactly the same, other than it's missing the Dragon Challenge.
Right.
I think other than that, because Dragon Challenge was already there, they managed to build it in Orlando, whereas Hollywood, that's kind of where their land ends. So apparently I think they've still got like an entrance there, so it looks exactly the same as if you were going to enter Dragon Challenge, but the ride itself isn't there. Yeah.
What?
That's weird, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it looks like there's like an entrance into something, but there isn't. But the rest of the land, I believe, the Flight of the Hippogriff is slightly longer. But other than that, I think it's exactly the same.
What, even the main ride is exactly the same?
Yeah, I believe so, other than the fact that it's in 3D.
Oh, okay.
That's the only
Does it make
change.
people as sick as the other one?
I think it was making people even sicker from what
Really?
from what I'd heard. Yeah, I think they had to tone it down a little bit.
Oh, I wish ours was 3D. It'd be awesome.
That'll come one day, though, won't
Yeah,
it?
there was talk that they were doing it, I think, but the problem is they'd have to take the ride down for quite a bit of time, I think.
Oh, I don't wish it was 3D then.
So I think that's kind of what's put them off at the moment from doing it. I think maybe once the third part comes along, then they might have a little less pressure on them.
Yeah. Well, Seth Kabursky, Touring Plans guy, he reckons that the one in Orlando was meant to have been far more scarier.
Yeah.
In the Dementors and the Spiders scenes.
Yeah, apparently they're still there.
Yeah, they're still there.
But they've lit
not
it differently.
Yeah, so I wonder if the one in Hollywood has got all that. Or whether they just completely didn't build it, maybe.
I think, because Tim Tracker went out there, he was saying that there were a few more spiders. I think he said that the Dementors were still the same, but I think they've added a few more spiders that you can actually see. But they said because of the 3D, it kind of takes you out of it with the props. Okay. So they kind of don't stand out as much.
That's interesting.
Because I think he went on it a couple of times, and like the second time he took his glasses off, and you could see more of the surrounding areas. So it is interesting to see whether there are any major differences between the two. But the actual ride itself is exactly the same.
All right. Do you like the Forbidden Journey, Amanda?
I love Forbidden Journey. Absolutely love it. Josh hates it. He doesn't like things that with screens and that make you feel sick like that. So I spend a lot of time on it by myself.
Oh.
And then I can just go through a single rider, so I don't care.
That's a good point.
Yeah, on and off in 5 minutes. I love it. I think it's one of the best rides that I've ever been on, ever. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it is a good ride. So maybe, hopefully, then they don't bring 3D then if it does take you out of the physical effects. Because I prefer them.
I think it kind of darkens the surrounding areas.
Yeah, makes it easy to miss stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably best we don't have it then.
Okay. Right bang smack behind the buildings of the Wizarding World is Springfield. And it's, I don't know, what would you say? Would you say it's slightly smaller than the Florida one or slightly bigger, would you say?
I think it's smaller in terms of the actual size, but I think it encompasses more. I think
there seems to be more to do.
Yeah, because you've got the power plants there, which isn't in Orlando, which you can actually set off.
No.
We can go and press a button to detonate.
About that.
Yeah, you can go and press a button and it detonates the power plant.
Awesome.
And the school's there as well. You can hear the kids in the playground playing and things like that. It does encompass a bit more, I think, while also still having the same things that they've got in Orlando, like the restaurants are all the same and things like that. The only thing they're missing, they haven't got the taco truck.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
I
also thought the merchandise was better in the Quickie Mart in Hollywood.
Yep. Yeah, I felt that the last time we went. I haven't been since they've rebuilt, added the extra bits. I've only been when the ride was there and the Quickie Mart was there. But the Quickie Mart was definitely better. In fact, I've got a bowling shirt from there. A squishy
the
one.
Pin Pals.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's one of the interesting things during Halloween Horror Nights again that they did differently there was they lit the Springfield area really differently to the rest of the park. They put like purples and oranges and lots of fog and different things, but they also played the Treehouse of Horror theme tune.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Continually, and it made it feel really different, even though they hadn't really done that much different to it. Whereas I find in Orlando during Halloween Horror Nights, just because of the sheer number of people, they don't tend to do that very much, do they?
No.
With the Orlando one. Do you go in the Moe's Tavern and the food area, Amanda?
Yeah. I like the food area because there's loads and loads and loads of choice. But I like the whole Springfield area as a whole. I'm not massive on the ride because I preferred Back to the Future. And I'm not
me too.
Go.
Yeah, and me.
But I do like the area. The theming's dead good.
Oh, it's brilliant theme, isn't it?
Yeah, and obviously love the donuts.
Yes.
Can't say no to a Lord Lad donut. I really like it. And I liked last year at Halloween Horror Nights because that's where all the clowns were.
The clowns, yeah.
Awesome.
They did a very good job, those clowns.
Yeah, they were so funny and so scary. I loved them.
Yeah, I was talking to some people today, and nearly all of those clowns have been rehired this year. So,
yes.
Yeah, the same guys are back.
Amazing, and that makes me so happy.
Well, they've all got their fingers crossed that they're going to become this new sort of clown chainsaw gang. So,
yay!
They appear every year, but, we'll see. Which they might do, because Chance is the icon, so you never know.
Yeah.
They haven't got a Kang and Kodos ride, have they?
No, they haven't.
And I find their version of the Springfield ride even more of a bone shaker than the Orlando one.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That even makes me feel sick. I don't get sick on rides, but that makes me feel really sick.
Yeah, my back just aches going on it.
Oh, wow.
I didn't even go on the Orlando one the last time I went because of how bad the Hollywood one was.
Yeah. I wonder if their Back to the Future was older than the Orlando one.
I think it possibly was.
Yeah.
I think Orlando opened first. Hollywood opened first.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, so they just swapped Back to the Future out there as well for The Simpsons?
Exactly the same, yeah.
All right.
Is there any news about one of the Asian parks that's just got rid of Back to the Future? Are they going to put Springfield in there?
Not that I'm aware of. I've not read anywhere that it's The Simpsons that's going in.
Yeah.
I don't even think they've said about what's going in. I've not seen any even rumours about it. Other than the fact, I'm guessing it's just got to the end of its run and they just can't use it anymore.
Oh.
They should bring it back as a special, like maybe just for like Halloween Horror Nights or something. Just like after hours, just have, Back to the Future back in there. Swap the film out.
That would make me so happy. I would plan a trip around that if they did that.
Well, there you go. Universal, if you're listening, we would all book trips tomorrow.
Take my money, Universal.
So right next to Springfield is a ride we'll get onto in a minute, which is our favourite ride. But if we go down the hill for a moment, which we've been going downhill on this show for a very long time, to get down the hill, it's 4 escalators. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
And they're your proper long London Underground escalators, aren't they?
They are then known as the Starway.
Starway. An interesting fact about the Starway is, as you get to the top, before you go down, if you look right and look down across the valley, Warner Brothers is almost next door, isn't it?
Yep, and Disney behind that.
And Disney's right behind that. So you get this great shot of Universal, Warner, and then Disney. When Warner Brothers has got a massive, huge, absolutely huge logo painted on the side of one of the sound stages.
Basically,
so you're under no illusion who's next door.
Basically, the one you see at the start of a Warner Brothers movie is the real one.
Yeah, literally the logo, isn't it?
Yeah.
As it sort of goes through the logo, and you see the, the logo and the sound stages. So you go down all the escalators, which takes a good 5-10 minutes. Get to the bottom, and the first thing on your left that you see, I believe, is Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
So Jurassic Park Orlando, Jurassic Park Hollywood. Paul, which is better?
Hollywood.
Hollywood, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a better ride. There's so much more story to it, and you can actually tell where you're kind of going. For me, with the Orlando one, it just seems like it's kind of a water ride, and that's it. The dinosaurs are fantastic in Hollywood. So much better.
Yeah. The animatronics do seem to be a lot better, don't they?
Yeah.
Ah.
I remember the Spitter.
Yeah.
He's on the Hollywood one, isn't he?
Yep, and you've got the car that falls.
The car as well, yeah.
If it's working. For many a year, there used to be 2 raptors sitting on another boat that were eating a Mickey Mouse bag.
Oh, what?
Well, I don't know whether that's still there. I've got a feeling they've taken it out now when they did their refurb. But yeah, there was 2 little raptors sitting on another raft. They've kind of got this Mickey Mouse Disney World bag between them, and they're trying to pull it apart.
And you've got the cafe and the gift shop there next door, haven't you?
Yeah.
Jurassic Park.
And that's another home of Halloween Horror Nights maze. It's the queue.
Yes, the queue area, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
You go down the side of it.
Last time I went, it was the Alice Cooper maze, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Was in there, which was really enjoyable.
They supposedly built him a maze because he religiously every year takes him and his whole family to Halloween Horror Nights.
Doesn't surprise me.
Murdy just stopped him one night and they just hit it off, and he didn't realise that he'd been going all these... You know Halloween Horror Nights as well as I do. Why don't you build a maze? That's how that maze came about.
That's cool. Doesn't Dee Snider go every year as well from Twisted Sister?
Yep.
We saw him a whole bunch last year, so it'd be pretty funny if they're a Twisted Sister house.
Well,
Really weird.
They followed up the Alice
Indeed.
Cooper maze with a Slash maze the following year.
Yeah, that's a
And
good point.
he's a huge Halloween Horror Nights fan as well.
Awesome.
My favourite celebrity that goes to Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood every year is Eric Shoesmith, Cam from Modern Family.
Yes.
Ellen, she and him are good friends, and she pays for him to go every year, and then they record him as he goes round. And last year, she recorded him going through the Halloween house, and he was just, screaming like a girl all the way through it.
The way that I'm imagining him going through the houses is how I go through the houses. Because I can imagine it's pretty funny.
Yeah. Eric Stone Street, sorry, not your thing, Rob, but Eric Stone Street. But in real life, he's straight, and he's not that camp in real life.
Really?
Yeah.
I love him being camp.
Yeah, but they call him, and no one get offended by this, but they do actually say this on set. They call him being gay for pay. Because obviously he's married to Mitchell, and the actor in real life is gay, isn't he?
Yeah.
But he goes every year. There's quite a lot, isn't there? There's quite a few. I mean, the Osbournes, they used to go a lot, didn't they?
Yeah.
A lot of the Walking Dead cast when they're in Hollywood, I know they go.
Yeah, Norman goes every year.
You get a lot of people like what's the one Cyrus? What's her name?
Miley Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus. She's been a few times, hasn't she?
Yeah. One with Valderrama as well as goes quite regularly.
Oh yeah.
From that 70s show.
Yeah. Because they all live there, so it's easier for them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so next door to Jurassic Park is a ride, in my opinion, that's not as good as Orlando, which is The Mummy. What do you feel about The Mummy, Paul?
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's not as good. Due to California fire restrictions, they had to take a major scene out of it. You don't get the fire across the ceiling due to the California fire regulations.
I didn't really notice that.
Yep, they had to take that whole scene out. They did put it in, but the government said no, that's not happening, and they had to take it out.
I'm quite surprised that you both said that you prefer Orlando, because everyone else that I've ever heard from has preferred Hollywood.
Really?
I think the storyline itself works better in Hollywood because there's none of the backstage stuff, but the ride itself isn't as good.
Oh really? Doesn't it go backwards for loads longer?
It does, but I don't think that makes a huge amount of difference, to be honest. Really. It just because and it's in quite a small building as well.
Yeah, very tight space, aren't they, down there?
It's what was the ET ride in Hollywood was in there. So it's a very small building. So basically they've done the best they can. So, but yeah, definitely Orlando is a far better ride.
And then right up against that, the third and final ride down at this level is the Transformers ride.
Yep.
I don't think, I'm not sure it was open, or I'm not sure if it was, I think it was down when we went. So I can't really compare it, but what are your thoughts on it, Paul?
I haven't been on the Hollywood one either.
No.
They hadn't opened. It was there. The big Transformer was on on the front of the building, but they hadn't opened. So the last time I went in that building, it was Backdraft and special effects stage was down there the last time I went in there. So I've not been on it, so I can't really compare either.
No.
But
I've heard that it's identical though.
Yeah, I think it is. I don't think there's any difference to it at all.
They had theirs first, didn't they?
Yes, I believe so. It opened first. I think it opened maybe a year beforehand.
Yeah. And then Orlando had the copy.
Yeah.
Because it was, I think I'm right in saying the Orlando one was built in record time.
Yeah.
So it must be exactly like for like, I would have thought.
As far as I'm aware, there's absolutely no difference to it.
No. No. Although I believe the only difference was that at the opening, we had Steven Spielberg open hours.
Ooh. Yeah, but he opened Jurassic Park.
Okay.
Hollywood.
Well, we can't have it all.
Yeah. Have you ever heard that story about him when they opened it?
Did he got where he got stuck, was it?
He got on the ride with his kids, got to the top of the drop and went, "I'm getting off now. See you later." And they stopped the ride. He got off and he sent his kids down the drop, but he refused to.
Well, if you're Steven Spielberg,
yeah, you can get away with it.
He did get stuck for a good hour on Jaws, though, in Orlando.
I heard that.
Yeah, I remember reading that. He was not happy, supposedly. But I think when Jaws opened in Orlando originally, I think everyone got stuck on Jaws at least once.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the whole time Jaws was open, everyone got stuck on Jaws at least once.
Yeah. Sadly missed though, Jaws.
I know. I'd gladly have it back and get stuck on it.
Yeah.
Gladly.
So would I. They've just, am I right in saying there was the Phantom stage, which you couldn't go into, next door to Transformers, which was their oldest soundstage. They've just demolished that.
They have.
Are they going to build a ride on it, or is it going to be another soundstage?
The rumour is that it will be The Secret Life of Pets going in there. This new animated film that's coming out this summer.
Right, so we've lost the original 1920s Phantom of the Opera soundstage.
Yep.
Complete with theatre.
Yep.
For some gimmicky kids 3D film.
By the sound of it, yep.
Oh no.
That no one's going to remember in about 5 years' time.
As you said, no one was allowed in there anyway. The set was so fragile; it had been standing since the 1920s.
Yeah.
And
did they save the set?
I believe so. I believe it's going somewhere else. I'm not sure where they've taken it, but I think it is going somewhere else. But the reason why it stood for so long was because it was apparently haunted.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
Was it the ghost of Lon Chaney?
Well, that was the big rumour, but by all accounts, people said it actually, if it was haunted, was likely someone that helped put the set up that had died while they were setting it up, because apparently there's records of someone dying in there.
Creepy.
So, and that was again I think partly another reason why they didn't open it to the public.
Yeah, I think a few VIP tours got in there a handful of times, but the general public just weren't allowed, were they?
Yeah, I've been in the soundstage next door that had the water pit in it. But didn't get in that one. The water pit that was used, not as a water pit, but the scene in Indiana Jones with the snakes was filmed on that.
The original.
Yep.
Yeah. It was filmed in there, was it?
Yeah. So that's still standing at the moment. How long that lasts, I don't know. Because there's talk that they're going to knock quite a few down.
Well, the battle now is between what makes more money, film production or the theme park. And I think at the moment, for the first time ever, I think the theme park is starting to make more money than the production side.
Yep, and that's due to taxes.
Is it really?
Taxes on filming in Los Angeles are ridiculous, which is why you find a lot of the major TV shows are filmed in Vancouver and elsewhere, is mainly due to the taxes. Yeah, or here, because of the tax breaks they get. So people just aren't renting the sound stages as they used to. So, because at the moment they've got CSI take up a major block of sound stages, and of course they're all finishing. This is all their last seasons.
Oh yeah, they're not making any more, are they?
Nope. So those sound stages are all going to be empty now.
And the Voice that had a huge sound stage.
Yep. So the rumour is that those sound stages may go as well, to make way for Diagon Alley. Whether that's
really, you think
yeah,
so?
That's been the rumour for a while, that they'll get rid of those sound stages and build Diagon Alley down there.
That's a massive footprint.
Yeah.
I mean, huge.
I think the only issue they're having is working out how to do the transport, because of the fact that Hogsmeade is on top of the hill. This would be at the bottom of the hill.
Oh, you'd never be able to link it, surely, with the, what they call it, the Hogwarts Express.
Yeah, I think it's just finding a way of doing it.
That would be so expensive.
Yeah.
Not impossible, but it might just be too expensive to be worth doing.
Yeah. So.
Okay, well, let's take the Skyway back right up the hill again. So 10, 15 minutes of standing there listening to clips of films.
Yeah,
and we come to my favourite. Yes, and theme tunes. My favourite ride, which is the studio tour.
Yep.
Which is the oldest ride, and it's also, I mean, they've had a studio tour there since they started making films.
Yeah.
Purely because back when they started, it was silent films, and you could have all sorts of people standing behind the camera making all sorts of noise, and it didn't matter. And there are two different types of studio tour. There is a VIP one, which we'll get onto, but there's the main one, which is narrated by Jimmy Fallon, isn't it, I believe?
Yeah.
And you get in your, what do they call them things? Trams?
Yeah, they were originally known as glamour trams, but now I think they're just called the studio trams.
Glam trams.
Yeah.
And then that brings you all the way back down the hill again, I believe.
Yep.
It starts at the top and comes down. And then you basically tour a number of sound stages and sets. And then you periodically, depending on who's in what, you go through several experiences. I think the first one for most people is King Kong.
It is.
We were talking about this, obviously, on the last show. Is it confirmed now, the consensus, that the video on the King Kong in Hollywood is exactly the same as Orlando?
I believe so, yeah. From what I can
That's
work out.
good then, because I watched a video of this tram tour yesterday and I skipped the whole Kong bit, just in case.
Yeah. From what I can work out, it's exactly the same.
What did Kong replace? Was it the animatronic Kong?
It was on the plot of land where the original one burnt down.
Right, because they've had quite a few fires, haven't they?
They have over the years. There's been back since the 1930s. They've been having fires. Most of the time, mainly due to the fact that it does get so warm. They have a lot of bushfires, but the one that burnt Kong down was caused by a builder who left his iron, his welding iron on.
Oh no!
One of the buildings. So.
Well, the interesting thing I found over there in Hollywood, as opposed to Orlando, is everything in Hollywood seems to be made out of wood.
Yeah.
All the sound stages were all timber framed. All the sets were timber. So much wood everywhere. Whereas in Orlando, everything was steel. All I can guess that is down to is the possibility of earthquakes.
Yeah, I think there's that.
Must move.
I think
so
there's
then the
that.
problem is Go on, sorry.
I think there's that, and I think the case of, with it still being a working studio, taking wood down's far easier.
Yeah. So they always have loads of carpenters on site, don't they?
Yeah.
So they could build sets quickly and things. But also, the problem is with that, if everything's built out of wood, if you have a fire, the whole thing goes up so quickly. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why they've had so many fires over the years, just because everything is built out of wood.
Oh no.
Which is very strange. So you go through the Kong part, You then, I think, you go through the new Fast and the Furious, which I've mentioned umpteen times, which I really, really do not like. Had you done the Fast and Furious bit, Paul?
No, it was still the Mummy's Tomb the last time we went.
Oh, okay. What happened in the old one then?
Well, originally it was kind of like it was the Abominable Snowman, and you were like going through a snow tunnel. But then they upgraded that when the Mummy came out, and it was kind of like you went through with the scarab beetles are going around you. Instead, it was just like one of those tunnels you go in where you walk across a bridge that's kind of spinning, and it makes you feel like you're off kilter.
Oh yeah.
It was basically one of them, but just with a different theme in. But you were on the tram as you did it.
I bet that made you feel dead sick.
It wasn't great. You were only in there for about 30 seconds, to be honest.
Oh no.
They have that tunnel at Halloween Horror Night, don't they? A smaller version.
Yeah.
They make me feel so ill.
What are some of the sets that you go through? I remember distinctively the Murder, She Wrote, come Jaws.
Yeah, you've got the Murder, She Wrote lake type, come beach type thing that now houses the Jaws attraction.
Yay.
Similar to what was in Orlando, I think. Other than it's not his own attraction, and it's fairly short. It's not a particularly long section. You see him out in the lake. He bites a scuba diver. Blood comes out of the scuba diver in the water. Then Jaws appears alongside the tram, sets a load of fire off, and that's it. So it's not a huge attraction. It's still good fun, but it's not what was in Orlando. That's for sure.
No, definitely not. You've also got the Courthouse Square from Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Or a copy of it. It's not the original, because that did burn down, didn't it, I believe?
Some of it's still there. I think it was the actual square itself got burnt down. I think one side of it got burnt down, whereas the courthouse itself, I think, is still the same one, but it's been modified over the years. But I believe the original one's still sitting behind it.
Okay.
But they've got like a facade in front of it. But yeah, I believe the pillars are still behind. The clock's still the original one when they have it up from the film. That was stored behind all the sets, so that didn't get touched by the fire at all.
Oh, right.
So that's still... They have had it up on occasion. Weirdly, though, I did read something that someone went to when it was the anniversary last year of Back to the Future. The clock had been up in the weeks previous to it. On the actual day, it wasn't there.
Oh, God.
And they'd taken it down because they were filming the next day, so they'd taken it down.
Oh, no.
But,
yeah. See, this is the kind of problem with this ride, this attraction, in as much as any time they want to use anything for filming, the tram tour gets diverted, and you don't see that part, do you?
No, I've actually never been on it. I've
Okay.
only driven alongside it. I've never actually been in Courthouse Square. Sadly.
Right. One of the other main sets that's very popular and has been there since time began is the Psycho set.
Yeah.
The house and the motel, which I think spoilt a bit because they got Whoville right behind it.
It's awful. Certainly when you get to the top of the hill and you're looking at the Psycho house on your left, and you look down and you can see Whoville below you.
I don't understand why those two things would have gone together naturally.
No.
But
Did they use the Bates Motel bit to film the TV show or not?
No, that's filmed in Canada somewhere.
Alright.
As I
Vancouver
said
again, or somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah, cheap. Another funny story I learnt about these sets. They were doing the tram tour one day, and they looked up, and on the roof of the Bates Motel, someone was sitting there dressed as Mother.
What?
And they had no idea what was going on, so they called security. They got to the end, and then they said, "Yeah, don't worry, it's Jim Carrey."
What?
He was filming on the lot at the time, and he just went, right, I'm going to dress up as Mother and go and scare everybody. And he was sitting on the roof of the Bates Motel, dressed as Mother. And he tried to do it again, but he was going to do it dressed as the Grinch. But he was stopped by security because no one had seen him. No one had seen his makeup at the time. And they were like, no, that's not happening. We can't let everybody see you before we've even actually shown a picture of you. And they actually stopped him. But yeah, he did do it once. He did it dressed as Mother.
Well, my tour guide said that he was filming Bruce Almighty.
Yeah.
When he did that, because behind that, well, just sort of not far from that, behind it, is that great big man-made lagoon where they've got the big blue screen.
Yep.
So anytime you see a film where it's someone shipwrecked at sea, or anything where they're at sea, basically, they film it on this giant blue screen with all this water. So I imagine it was probably the bit where he meets God and he walks on the water.
Yeah. In fact,
it could easily have been the Truman Show, though, couldn't it?
Yep. In fact, not the last time, when we went on honeymoon in 2010, I think they were filming Evan Almighty. Oh, yeah. When he's on the Ark. And I think they just started to film that. The Ark was starting to be built in front of that blue screen.
Ah, right. Oh, that's interesting. The motel and the house, though, I mean, that's got a lot of history. I mean, I believe it wasn't in the original location. It had been moved, both buildings, for, I think it was Psycho 2, but they've remained pretty much there the whole time. And it's been, I think it was recently, was it this year or last year, they actually did up the house? Yeah,
I believe so, because it was starting to fall apart a little bit the last time I saw it, because with Halloween Horror Nights, because they do the backlot tour during that as well.
They do, yeah.
You get off on that lower part where Bates Motel is, and you walk up to the house. So you get quite close to the house when you're doing that, and you could see there was certainly some damage to it at that point.
Well, they had a meet and greet with Norman Bates when I went.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The Halloween Horror Nights, yeah.
Norman followed us up the hill. Literally, he came out of the motel and literally followed behind us with his knife literally inches away from my wife's face.
Amazing.
And then he just kind of disappeared.
They do go for it in Hollywood more, don't they?
Yeah.
Than Orlando, I find.
Yeah.
Whether that's good or bad, I don't know, but they do tend to really go for it. But I remember going, not last year, year before, and I actually put my hand, well, not my whole hand, but my finger, actually through the wood on the house. It was that rotten.
What?
So the house is a little bit like Trigger's Broom. It might look like the same house, but it's been refurbed and repaired so many times. I don't know how much of the original is actually there.
No.
Probably just the figure of Mother in the window is still probably the same one, but other than that, the rest of it's probably completely different.
Yeah. And then right behind Psycho is the War of the Worlds set.
Yep.
With the crashed airliner, which I find quite an annoying location.
Yeah. Because
of all the sound effects, like sirens and things. They're a bit, like when there's a police car going past your house, it's a bit annoying while you're on the phone. It's like you're standing there and the police car just isn't going anywhere. But an interesting thing, I don't know if you've heard this, Paul, but Spielberg paid for that set to be made for his film. Yeah. And he had it in part of the contract that for 20 years or 25 years after the set had been used, it could never be used until 25 years was up for any other films.
What?
Just because they spent so much money on it and it's so detailed. So he didn't want it in other films.
The plane itself hardly cost anything. Something like $5,000. Yeah, it's the moving of the plane that cost them about $7 million to get it on the set. something ridiculous. So it's not a surprise that they're trying to use it for at least something if he's got that in his contract.
Yeah. So it's a bit like a piano. Pianos cost 50 quid to buy, but to move the thing from eBay's man's house to your house, it costs about 100 quid.
Yeah.
It's the same principle, I suppose. What else is there? We've gone through that. Jaws. Is there an earthquake area?
I was just going to say, is there not an earthquake?
There is. There was also. It's exactly the same as the ride in Orlando was. You go into a subway tunnel, things come pouring in. Very similar. The nice point was, it was spotted in an episode of Bones a few years ago.
Oh, yes.
That they used it exactly as it is in the ride.
That's right.
So you'd got literally what they did was they closed it down as the ride finishes. So the subway cart was in the tunnel, the water had poured in. So yeah, it was used in an episode of Bones, and it was very obvious that that's what it was.
Ah.
Didn't they also use it in Beverly Hills Cop as well?
Yes, yep. It was one of the first ones that ever used it was Beverly Hills Cop, and I think it's been used for years and years on different things.
Yeah, as you said, they used it almost identical, didn't they?
Yeah.
To the ride. Yeah, I don't remember. You know, I don't remember going through Earthquake at Hollywood. So it is definitely still there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. The other interesting area, which Universal calls it Wisteria Lane, after Desperate Housewives, but I prefer to call it the Burbs area. The Burbs is one of my favourite films.
Yeah.
Or the Munsters, yeah. That's still there, I believe, isn't it?
It is. We got on it a couple of times because when we were going, Desperate Housewives was still on. And a couple of times we got there and found that it was closed because they were filming. But other times we did manage to get on it. But now it's open, obviously, permanently. Unless someone's decided to film in one of the houses. But at the time, obviously, Desperate Housewives used all the houses.
Last time I was there, they said they were filming a reboot to the Munsters, but I don't even know if that made it over here.
With Eddie Izzard playing Grandpa.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
That's weird.
It was Brian Fuller that created the new Hannibal, and is now the showrunner on the new Star Trek TV series.
Oh, I can tell you a really interesting fact about him. He occupies Alfred Hitchcock's old bungalow on the back lot.
Yes, he does.
So he has Hitchcock's old office.
Yeah, he moved in there when they were doing Hannibal, when they first
Hannibal,
started.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, when they first started with that, because he was also the showrunner on Pushing Daisies.
Okay.
Which was about 10 years ago, but with the guy that played the villain in Guardians of the Galaxy was the lead on that.
Oh,
and Anna Friel was in it as well.
I loved that TV show. It was so good.
I don't know that one.
Oh, it was so good.
Very strange, but...
Yeah, it was weird, but I loved it.
Yeah, very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Something that I loved when it was Halloween Horror Nights was it gave you a bit more scope because you had to get on the tram for Halloween Horror Nights to get to this part of the park, which is like the far reaches of the park. And they had Aliens versus Predator, I think, and what's the Night Manager? What was his horror film he was in?
Oh, Crimson Peak.
Crimson Peak, the house for that. Those were right out the back, and you had to walk through a lot of the original sets and sound stages to get to those houses.
That sounds so good.
Yeah, it is good. It's a bit... I think if they had the sort of footfall that Orlando has, then you'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
Because you'd be queuing for an hour or more to get to an area to then queue some more. if that makes sense, because they're having to tram you all that way. And I think they tram you purely because, again, they've got this problem with space, but I think that you have to go through this very serious production area where like the bungalows are in order to get to this back part of the park where the Bates Motel and everything is. So it's just an interesting dynamic that you have to ride in order to get there to see those houses.
Yeah.
Have I missed anything on the tour? Is there anything else?
I don't think so. You've got some of the old filming locations, like for things like Frankenstein. You've got Court of Miracles.
Oh, of course.
Little Europe. Oh, and you've got the Flash Flood as well, which I'd completely forgotten about.
Spanish scene or Mexican scene.
Which basically you're kind of in the middle of a storm, and all this water comes rushing down the hill at you. It's more a demonstration of how they do the special effects more than anything, which is quite clever.
Yeah, as you say, you see like all the sort of New York streets and New England and European sort of looking streets, London streets and things. Yeah. When you go on the VIP tour, have you done the VIP tour?
I've done it a couple of times. Yeah.
You can actually get off the tram. They have a smaller tram. It's more like a sort of a large minibus, isn't it, I suppose?
Yeah, 10, 15 people probably.
Yeah. And you get to explore some of the sets. I thought what was quite funny was the European set, which is, as you said, where Frankenstein and various other Universal monster movies was filmed, actually doubles as the production toilet.
What?
The production toilet. There's actually toilets built inside the European set. So if you watch like the classic Frankenstein or maybe even some of the old Basil Rathbone and Sherlock Holmes films, they use those sets all the time. And now, just because it's such a long walk to anywhere else, they put a toilet in there. A ladies and a gent. So,
wow.
But the interesting thing when you do the VIP tour is going into the prop soundstage, the prop warehouse. What did you think about that, Paul?
First time I went in there, I thought it was brilliant. Second time we went in there, I didn't think we saw as much. And I'm wondering whether they've shortened your time in there because they're doing more tours.
So what did you see first time around then?
First time we were in there for a good hour.
Okay.
Second time I don't think we were in there for more than about 20 minutes. I think they just gave us more time to go and look round by ourselves and have a look at what they'd got. The second time I went in there, it did seem like we were hardly there.
And this was all on the ground floor, was it?
Yeah. I do remember that they've got a Jurassic Park raptor in there. That on occasion has different fancy dress costumes on. I've gone in there and he's been dressed as a clown.
I saw E.T.
E.T.'s been in there with him.
I saw him dressed up as a woman.
Yep. Yeah.
With a wig on and things.
Yeah, I've seen the raptor with a Santa Claus hat on as well.
They've got the original Mummy's tomb in there, haven't they?
Yep.
From the original 1930s film.
Yeah. I know they just finished filming, because Pirates of the Caribbean 2 was filmed on the Universal lot. And they just finished filming and they'd got all the swords and stuff out. They hadn't catalogued them back in. So all the swords that were used on Pirates of the Caribbean 2 were actually Universals.
Oh.
I also remember, the picture in American Pie of Jim and his family.
Yeah.
That they have on the wall. That was up. That was in there. I saw that.
It was in there.
Yeah.
They told us on our tour that they, the production assistants for the films and things, they all can rent all the stuff as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just for the filming on the actual lot. They can actually rent stuff. It's huge. I mean, it's like if you can imagine a really big Asda or a Walmart, and then put like a second and a third floor on it, and then just filled with acres of furniture and props of everything you can think of, from sort of like 1950s telephone switchboards to, old-fashioned Apple Macintosh computers, through to every type of cabinet, chair, and table in every kind of style you can ever possibly imagine. And they organise it really well, don't they, Paul?
Yeah, they really do. It's fantastic fun. Certainly having your own tour guide.
Oh, they're brilliant, those guys.
Yeah.
But one told us when we were in there, said that the day before, Warren Beatty had just been through, and he met some of the tour guides that day. And the way it works inside is you go through with a sticker, and you sign your name on these stickers. They're all different colours. So if you're Warren Beatty, so you're all going to have like orange stickers. And you sign your name on each sticker, and then you just put the sticker on the furniture. And then you ring up and you say, right, I want all the orange stickers to be delivered to Warner Brothers, for next Tuesday or something. That's the way it works.
Ah.
I did notice as well, there was a hell of a lot of Murder, She Wrote stuff in there.
Yeah. Yeah, they do still seem to love that show. They're rebooting it, aren't they?
They said they were, and then they said they weren't. So I don't know if they are or not now.
It's not a surprise because it still repeats all over the world.
Oh, I mean, it's on BBC, isn't it, every day?
Yeah.
So can you get up close to all these props, or are you just looking at them from afar?
No, you can get right up to them.
All right.
They don't like you touching them because they don't want them to be miscatalogued, but you can literally get right up to them.
Ah.
Yeah. There's just so much, isn't there? They couldn't, I don't think, keep you away from it, really.
No.
That sounds like so much fun.
And then, as well as that, on the VIP tour, you generally get to go inside one of the sound stages to see something being filmed, or to see some sets from a current production.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was I saw being filmed. It was some American family drama that I don't think we've had over here. But have you seen anything interesting?
The one that I went on the first time we went, the guy that created Heroes, Tim Kreng, he had another crime show on at the same time, and it was the set of that we went on. The second time I can't remember what we did. I can remember when we went to Warner Brothers, which set we went on, but I can't remember the...
Yeah, I can remember more about Warner Brothers than...
Warner Brothers was The Mentalist, because it was a show that we ended up watching, but I can't remember Universal the second time. As I said, we went in that soundstage where they'd filmed with the water pit, and I can't remember whether we went on another one or whether it might... Do you know what? It might have been Modern Family.
Could have been, yeah. I think they have moved around a bit.
Yeah, because I'm sure that was filming there the last time we went. It might have been Modern Family. And at the time, I don't think they'd shown it here. I think it was a fairly new show.
Yeah, because right now it's an ABC, so it's a Disney production, but they film it at Fox Studios.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder if they've moved around.
Yeah, I'm sure it was Modern Family.
Yeah. But as you say, I mean, CSI is massive there, or has been. I mean, every single CSI was filmed there, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, except for Vegas, I think.
Or was Vegas not filmed there?
Vegas was actually filmed in Vegas, I think.
Oh, right. I didn't know that.
That was the only one, but the rest of them, all the other spin-offs, have all been filmed at Universal.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's the studio tour done to death. There's nothing I've missed, is there? Is there anything you missed?
No, I think that's it.
The only thing I would add was actual tour guides that have done the tour as a job before they were famous include Whoopi Goldberg, Jimmy Fallon, who ironically now narrates the
Whoopi Goldberg
tour.
Did narrate it before Jimmy Fallon as well.
Oh, did
Jimmy
she?
Fallon
I didn't know
replaced
that.
her, yeah.
Conan O'Brien, who he films The Tonight Show, I think, at Universal, doesn't he? I think.
Yeah.
And Ron Howard, the director, and Richie from
Days.
Happy Days. Yeah.
So how much is the VIP tour?
I don't remember it being very much, to be honest with you.
No, it's not. It's not overly expensive. Obviously, in relative terms, it is fairly expensive. But for what you get, it's not as expensive.
No, they also give you lunch,
Yeah.
and I think they give you like a kind of continental breakfast as well, don't they?
Yeah, when you arrive.
The way it works is that when you get to the studio gates, there is literally a red carpet that's there all the time. And you follow the red carpet along, and it leads you into this tiny little office, and it's called VIP Services, and they send you upstairs, and you have your continental breakfast, and then you get selected to a tour guide. And I remember our tour guide was this older gentleman, and he was really knowledgeable, and he went round to every single, we were virtual couples, he went round to every single couple before we started on the tour to introduce himself and to ask our names and who we were and blah, blah, blah. And then he wanted to know what our favourite films were, or at least what our favourite Universal films were. So then he said that, so when we're on the tour, I will point out to you personally, I will say your name and say, look, this is where they filmed X, Y, and Z.
Ah,
So his knowledge was, encyclopedic. I mean, he knew everything.
that's
And he was like, I wouldn't say he was a failed actor, but he'd obviously gone to Hollywood to become a famous actor. And then didn't make it, but then decided to be like the best tour guide you could ever be.
Oh, that's so nice.
Did you didn't have that guy, did you, Paul?
No, the first time we had, he got nicknamed Little Arnold because he looked like Arnie, but was only about 5'3", and he was walking around with his sunglasses on, like he was. And we always remember because I went with a couple of friends the first time I went out there, and he had, you know how they have something that you have to follow. He had this little stick with a Spider-Man on the end of it, and of course at the time the Marvel superheroes were at Universal Studios in Hollywood, so I think that was part of the reason why he'd got it, was that they were still part of the studios at that point.
Oh.
So, and then the second time we had as I said, it just didn't feel quite as good. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was kind of, I would imagine he probably still felt the failure of not being an actor at that point.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? When you go to LA, nearly everybody you meet, whether it's paying for petrol at the petrol station or going to a restaurant, they're all either trying to become an actor or a screenwriter, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a funny environment, isn't it, to a degree? But then after you've had your breakfast and met your tour guide, for us, when I did mine, we, for the morning, went round every single ride. And it's like a VIP. You just literally, there's no queuing. You go straight into the ride. Then we had lunch. I forget the name of the place we had lunch, but it was an all-you-can-eat buffet.
And it was the one up near Despicable Me, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it, though.
No, I can't either. It's right on that corner. Kind of, the entrance faces Despicable Me, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't
And they do
remember
make
what
you
the name
feel
of it.
VIP, don't they? Because they don't allow the public into the restaurant. So you've got all this beautiful food. I mean, it was really good food. I mean, really high quality stuff. A massive, massive buffet. And I remember being in the queue at the buffet, and members of the public were trying to get in the restaurant because they wanted some of the food. And there was bouncers there, and they were like, no, sorry, this is VIP only.
Food bouncers.
Yeah. So then after you had your food, then you gather together again, and then that's when you go down to the lower lot and the back lot and tour all of the sound stages and sets and things. And basically, it's almost identical to the tram tour. It's just you're allowed to get off the tram and explore.
Awesome. It sounds so good.
I just looked. It's $359 per person.
Is that on top of your regular theme park admission, or...?
No, that includes theme park admission.
All right, okay.
So
I mean, if you compare it to like what Universal in Orlando does, I mean that's pretty much a bargain when you consider they throw the food in as well.
Yeah, it sounds good. It sounds really good for the price as well.
Yeah,
we've been looking at
doing it.
Well, we've been looking at doing RIP tours for Halloween Horror Nights this year, and it's something like $1,800. You know. You know, I mean, you can have up to 8 or 10 people, but it's quite a lot of money.
Yes, and that's on top of your regular tickets.
It is. You've got to buy your tickets. Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
Okay, Paul. So that's everything, isn't it?
Yep, that's the whole park from what I can tell. So
yeah, I can't think of anything we've missed.
No.
So Amanda, when are you going to book to go?
Well, why don't us three go on a field trip? Because Josh will never come.
Well, I'm sure the Dis After Dark budget would stretch to that, considering we had to pay some money the other day to keep our feed going or whatever it was. We had to raid the back of the sofa.
Because someone decided to add music to all our previous episodes. Not
Is
naming
that
any
why?
names.
And is that why he had to pay for it as well?
Yes.
Okay.
But honestly, I would love to go. Like, you guys have made it sound amazing, and so 100% I'd want to go. It sounds so cool.
It's definitely a hidden gem. I think people look at Universal Orlando and go, well, that's the home of Universal Studios theme parks, but this is just something completely different. The nostalgia and the history of the studio being part of it, I think, makes it a completely different ball game.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
It sounds super, super cool. I would definitely want to go.
I think if you... Sorry, Amanda, go on.
I'd definitely do that tour. Like, for the price of it, 100% I'd do it.
I think if you combine it with a trip to Disneyland, and then a stay in Hollywood, or what I've done is I've usually gone to Hollywood, done this, done Disneyland, done LA, like Santa Monica, because you've got the beach there, and then we've driven to Las Vegas.
Ah.
I mean, that's about 3 hours away, something like that. I mean, or you can go up to like San Francisco. I mean, that's not massively far away, is it?
No, that's what. Well, my brother didn't quite get to San Francisco. First time he'd ever been in the States, never driven.
Yeah.
Came out of LAX at rush hour and got in his car and drove through. In fact, they were staying the night, but they booked a hotel the wrong side of LAX. They went south, and I was like, "You idiot! Why didn't you talk to me?" And then he had to drive. First time he'd ever driven over there. The next morning, he drove all the way up to the coast. Didn't get quite as far as San Francisco, but he did it all in a day as well.
Okay.
And I was just like, no, you don't want to be doing that. I think it nearly killed him. As I said, I've never done it. We've never driven over there when we've been there. We've always been public transport or tour buses.
It's horrendous.
Yeah. Though we nearly moved there.
What?
Did you?
Yeah, because my wife's grandparents are American.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have had many issues getting out there. Lisa would have been able to have changed her passport, and I would have got a green card off the back of that. It was just the fact we didn't think we were going to have kids, and then our little boy came along and changed the plans. But if he hadn't have come along, there was a chance that we would have possibly been living in LA by now.
Wow.
But good things happened instead, so
exactly.
I just do this podcast and talk about it instead.
Exactly. Have you done Vegas or Disneyland or all the other attractions?
We've done Disneyland twice.
Yeah.
Love it. It's the home park. You can't go wrong with going to the place that Walt built.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Disneyland.
We'll have to do another comparison show with Disneyland versus Disney World.
Yeah.
Is Disneyland far away from Universal?
It's a good hour and a half probably.
Oh, really?
With the traffic.
Really depends on traffic.
Yep. we've done it in 45 minutes, but it can take up to an hour and a half, 2 hours.
If you've got a clear run, it's definitely 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I've heard people say 3 hours.
Yeah. It's not easy at all. They're in different counties.
Right.
Hollywood, Universal's obviously in Los Angeles County, whereas Disneyland is in Anaheim. So it is quite a distance.
The actual Disney studios, where they actually make the animated films, like Frozen, for example, and all those ones, or Mary Poppins, that's just up the road, though, isn't it, from Universal? Yeah. But that's not open to the public.
No, unless you can get an invite.
If you can get an invite, or if you're a D23 member.
Yeah, when they do occasional tours.
Yeah, there are special days when they open it up.
Sometimes they have special screenings, don't they?
They do, yeah.
Of certain films, if it's an anniversary, like I'm sure they did for Mary Poppins.
Well, we were lucky enough to get onto the Disney studios. We sort of joined D23 just to get a tour around the studio. And it's a lot smaller than Universal, much smaller. And you see where, basically, if you've seen Saving Mr. Banks,
yeah,
it's basically everything from that you see, and you also see like the offices where Bob Iger and all the other, directors hang out, but they don't show you the actual animation studio, just because of what they're making at the moment. So you won't be able to get in there. It was a bit unlike the Orlando one, whereas the old animation studio at Orlando, you could easily walk through and see what they were making. But in this internet age now, they don't allow it. And then right next to it is, as we said earlier, is Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Which is open to the public.
Yeah. Certainly is.
But it's only a tour only, isn't it, that one?
Yeah. Yeah. Very enjoyable, though.
Yeah,
they've got a museum. Yeah, they've got a museum at Warner Brothers that you can walk through, haven't they? Which I think's changed recently, because it used to be like everything on the bottom floor, didn't it? It didn't have a particular theme, and then upstairs was Harry Potter. But I believe downstairs is now DC Comics exhibition.
Oh right, yeah.
So it's got all the costumes from like Batman vs Superman and the Dark Knight trilogy and things like that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's very enjoyable. Just not theme park based.
The funny thing with that tour was they showed us this little, I don't know what you would call it really. It's like a lane that had trees surrounding it. It's very small. It's like a glorified driveway into your house. And they said this was where they filmed the T-Rex chase in the original Jurassic Park. And right behind those trees are loads of like people's houses, like bungalows and things where old people live. He said you would never believe from watching that film, that moment where the T-Rex is running down and they got the little Jeep. And Ian Malcolm, Jeff Goldblum's in the back of it. That scene was filmed on this little driveway right in front of all these houses.
Wow.
But there's loads of stories like that. We could go on for hours with Universal. And okay, so I think we've done it all. We've done it to death. So Amanda, you're definitely going out there. Don't care what the boyfriend says. Get the tickets booked. Paul will always be going back. Definitely.
And I'll go tomorrow.
Definitely. Well, maybe YouTube could sponsor you,
Well, I wish.
Or Universal. You do enough videos for Universal. So.
Yeah, Universal. Pay for me to go and I'll make all the videos.
Perfect. Right, okay. I think that's everything. So thank you, dear listener, for listening to us ramble on again. We're glad you like the Universal show. We love talking about Universal. Please go on iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating, review. And is there anything else I've missed, guys?
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay, all right, Brill. Well, anyway, I've been Chris, and I'll see you on the next show. It's goodbye from me.
Goodbye.
Bye.
part of the After Dark Podcast Network.